My grandmother was a Dutch immigrant, born in 1886. She came to America alone at about age 18 to Sheboygan, Wisconsin. Most of the time she was a single mom raising 4 children, taking what work she could find. Intelligent and a consummate people person, Granny took in boarders and eventually ran the Park Hotel. A woman who knew her mind, she courageously broke through harsh racial divides in her business practices and had some interesting experiences in the process. Here is part of her story told by my dad at age 91.
And I can remember when it got cold in the winter, they didn't call the streets, but we had like a street storm. And Bill and Marty and Kay were skating out in the street. And my mother got her old from Holland, and Stacy had her curves from it, and she was out there skating like crazy.
Was she working in those days?
She always worked, and she always had boarders.
She had a hotel.
Oh,
We kind of graduated from having boarders to having, during the Depression we had about, I think about 20 guys. Bachelors, they didn't get married because they couldn't afford it. And they were on welfare, and then they got on WPA. But we had those guys for, I bet you 3-4 years.
Well, where did you have them?
Then we lived on
Not
Center
in your
Avenue,
house.
above, it's Travelville. It's where that motel downtown is. It was right there. Then we moved to 910 Ontario Avenue. I pointed that out to you.
Yep.
And we had, it was a duplex, and we had our 12 flats. And we had all those guys. And
All those guys upstairs?
I slept with Shorty Blake.
Those were different times, weren't they?
Yeah.
Here's the old Park Hotel.
Oh, and so that's where.
That's not part of the clinic. No, what the old clinic.
The old
get some
clinic
rain
on
in about 20
minutes.
8th Street.
Yeah, the Park Hotel is right across from the park.
Should probably just. But once it
And that was our 37 Chrysler.
I think we're gonna stay
Wow.
using it.
And so the guys you're talking about, that wasn't when they were there. They worked at that place.
The
Some
guys,
of
when
them
you
were-
said borders, that was your home, like just
That
your
was-
home
yeah.
on.
Well, but when you
But
talk
But
about
when we
the,
moved to the hotel, we had 50% of the rooms were taken up for inside, and the other 50 were for transit. That was when we used to get the Harlem Globetrotters. Nobody else would take black people as
I never, this is the first I've heard it because I thought that no one ever took blacks
Oh, we did.
until.
Well, nobody did, and my mother was criticized for doing it. The first time was some black musicians came to town, and they were going to play at a nightclub. And we took them in, and we got phone calls that my mother did that were terrible. You know.
What year was that about? How old were you?
I was probably about 1933, 34, somewhere in there. But it turned out to be an advantage to us because we had like the Harlem Globetrotters, the New York Renaissance, the Kansas City Monarchs baseball team. They came to town and I must have been about 14, maybe 13 years old. And I was waiting to see Satchel Paige, who at the time was the world, he was a pitcher.
Yeah.
Anyhow,
We had a picture of
they
that.
come on got there and I asked, they got off the bus, I said, where's Satchel Paige? Oh, he comes in his own car. So I'm sitting on the step there waiting for Satchel Paige. A purple Cadillac convertible pulls up. And on the side door it says, Satchel Paige, the world's greatest pitcher.
Oh boy. A modest fellow, right?
Oh, he was not modest at all. What a nice guy.
So your mother must have been, she thought it was a good thing to do though. She didn't have a problem with blacks.
Oh, no, not at all.
That makes me feel good. I mean, a lot of people here did, right?
Right, if she was the only one that did. She must have known she was swimming upstream.
There were a lot of people didn't. Some people thought it was against the law to keep them.
Well, I had always heard, this is the first I've ever heard, I just had this conversation. I looked like, you didn't think anyone, I think Kniever's Hotel had, but that was way in the 50s. I had understood that in the 50s. I think Tom told me that they would serve black
Could be.
people. Or an Indian, I think it was an Indian man had come to town on
We had,
business. And
we had some guys that sold Oriental rugs. They were, I think they were from Iraq, if I'm not mistaken.
they were what?
Hindus, or
Oh.
Muslims. They were, I think they were from Iraq. There were 3 of them, and they came to town once a year, and they sold these Oriental rugs to people.
Oh,
And they would lay them out in the lobby and they'd show them to people.
and they
But-
stayed at the Park Hotel?
Yeah, they stayed every year. They'd come for, well, maybe 3-4 days or a week. I can't remember the name. One of them ended up living in Sheboygan. Didn't you meet her daughter? His daughter?
Jakob Halim,
Oh,
Anissa's father.
Yeah, I remember
Anissa's father.
Yeah.
He was one of the rug salesmen.
And, oh, this is just bringing back so many names when you say Anissa.
I know.
At the age
You wanna
of
cut it
11 or
out?
12, I was
Get
in
a Kleenex.
business. My mother put me in charge. We had a glass enclosure on the desk, and we had cigars and candy in there. And
That was
that was
your,
my business. I bought the stuff, put it in there, and sold it.
what great training though. I mean, I wonder if she knew what she really produced here. Wonderful.
But I was kind of spoiled. I remember one
Well,
time
she adored you, right?
Oh,
You were
yeah.
the apple of her eye.
I had a car, and the lights, the fuse went out, and I didn't have any headlights. But I had what they called fog lights in the front. So and I had this girlfriend that I was taking back to her house. And the police stopped me about the lights. And I explained to them, you know, the lights went off, but I had to take this girl. She was up on South 9th Street or something.
How old were you?
What?
How old were you?
I was about 16 probably. Anyhow, they stopped me. Then on the way back, they stopped me, a different squad car stopped me. And they took me home. So they wanted to talk to my mother. So I went in first, my mother was in bed. So I woke her up and told her exactly what happened. She went outside, she went to the desk, and the police told the story. And my mother said, "Get out of here." She said, "I don't want any bums like you hanging around." She was tough.